Now, styled components are nice, but how do they actually work? Which magic trick are they doing? Well, for that, let's inspect this in the developer tools. What we see there, if we inspect these rendered divs, is that they have CSS classes attached to them. Classes with very strange names, which we certainly didn't define. These class names are automatically added by the styled components library, because keep in mind that these divs here are actually the output of this div method, right? We're not rendering a div, we're rendering a styled div here, which is the result of calling the div method here in the end with this tagged template notation. So this div method returns a React component, which in the end renders a regular div with such a CSS class. And where's the content of this class coming from? Well, we can see that in the head of this document. There we will see a style tag, or multiple style tags actually. And if we have a look at these style tags, at this style tag here specifically, with these attributes here, we see there's this strange class name again. And there we find the styles we set up here. So the styles we set up here are not added as inline styles, but instead the styled components package takes them, puts them into CSS class selectors and adds them to the head of the document, and then just adds the appropriate CSS class to the div, which is returned by this component, or which is created as part of this component. This is how styled components work under the hood. Which is great, because that means you're not working with inline styles, which can have certain disadvantages. For example, you're not really taking advantage of the cascading nature of CSS with them. No, instead you have regular CSS classes automatically managed for you by styled components, which makes this a really great solution. Let's also apply them to app.js, therefore. In app.js, we also have some styles here, which we previously added with Radium, just as we did it in Person.js. There, by the way, we can now also get rid of that style constant here. We don't need it anymore with styled components. But in app.js, it's the same. We got this style constant here, and we don't need it anymore like this, because we're not using Radium anymore. Now, this style constant here is important for our button. So in the end, what we want to create is a styled button, right? Now again, we can do this with the styled components package. And side note, of course, you can also store your styled components in separate files and then reuse them across multiple files if you need to. Here I just happen to only need that div in this person component and that button in the app component, but you could absolutely share them across files. So here I'm importing style from styled components again. And with that, I want to create my styled button. So here I'll have my styled button. Of course, you can name this constant however you want. And there I created with styled button like this, again using this tagged template syntax here. Now here we have our style, which we can copy in that style constant and add it here in our template literal. Now, we don't need the quotes here, because we're writing regular CSS here. That's important. You write regular CSS here. So you'd also need to use regular CSS properties. You're not using camel case here anymore, because what you write in here will end up in the head of your document between style tags, as you saw before. So we write regular CSS here. We don't need to adhere to any special JavaScript syntax here, because it's just CSS. So let's add semicolons at the end of every line, remove all quotes, and get rid of all camel case notations. Now, the cool thing about styled components is you can just add a hover pseudo selector like this. With a little tweak, you need to add an ampersand symbol in front of it, and this will tell the styled components package that this belongs to this button which is spat out, and that there it should apply this hover style, or be aware of this hover style. And then here we have the background color, light green like that, and the color black like this. So this is how we would translate this to regular CSS applied to this button, which is created by this button method in the end. And now we can use that styled button. So let's go down here and let's replace our button here with styled button. Now important, we don't apply the inline style like this anymore. We can still add on click though, because this button component, which is created by the styled components package, has all the normal props every button has. So on click and so on are still available there. If we now save that and we reload, we still see the button here, and you see the hover effect when I, hover over it. And just to again prove that this is coming from the styled components, if I were to temporarily remove that hover code here, you see now I have no hover effect here. So that's really styled components doing their work. Let's re-add it though.